Hi, this is David Tighe, the Managing Director of Bauer Media here in Northern Ireland. And this is Bauer's Business Bites. Every week we talk to a special guest and we get some insight and some information about what they're up to and how we can all perhaps learn something from their story. This week, my guest is Adam Cree, who's the Chief Revenue Officer for 3EN. Adam, welcome to Business Bites.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me on here.
Well, it's great to see you, and it's even better to hear about a success story that's come from our part of the world. So, Adam, very briefly, just give us in a nutshell 3EN. What is it all about?
So essentially, 3N are business problem solvers. So what does that look like and what does that mean? So we take the complexity of business software, take away all the restrictions that often come with reporting from multiple systems, and we take your business and put it all in one place. Essentially, drive efficiency through reporting, increase your time to close your books. Basically, take all your business, put all your operations under one roof, eliminate multiple systems and legacy data issues.
You sound like someone who could also probably remove a few headaches for some people in business as well, by the sounds of that. Um, Tell us a little bit about your story because there's many strings to your bow, and I'm not talking about your guitar either in the background there.
Yeah, so my own story is a bit of an interesting one. So I left school at the age of 16 with virtually nothing to my name. My focus my whole life had been sports. I somehow in Northern Ireland became an avid ice hockey player. I don't really know how that begun or how I ended up there, but essentially that led me to my whole life be focused on I want to be a professional ice hockey player, which is a weird dream for a young boy from Northern Ireland. But essentially, I left school and I achieved my dream. I played ice hockey for the Belfast Giants. I had an enjoyable yet very fast career. Quickly realized that sports only gets you so far in life. There comes a point where um, you realize that you need another job. So I quickly realized this and realized that sports wasn't what I wanted to do the rest of my life. Quickly made a decision that I wanted to get into the business world, and I initially kind of found my love for art again, which is how I started here and how I became chief revenue officer. So got into marketing, got into design, loved that, and essentially worked my way up into being chief revenue officer and getting into sales and marketing and client services combined. That's a very quick version of my background, but it's been self-taught, self-learned. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've built my success on my failures. But it's been enjoyable, and I think one of the things I enjoy most is getting to talk to a lot of the interns and stuff that we take on at 3N and helping them realize that some of these guys go into university and realize that they haven't really studied what they want to do, or they're not really going in the direction they expected to go, but realizing that your education doesn't have to define who you are for the rest of eternity. And I enjoy those interactions and those conversations. But yeah, my background was basically from sports and worked my way up into sales and marketing.
It's a great story and it's quite inspirational. Tell us a little bit about 3EN on a sort of a scale. So, where are they in the world, and what problems are you solving? What have you learned in the last 12 months?
Oh wow, yeah. So where we are in the world right now, so we've grown extensively over the last, I would say, 2 years. We had a bit of a plateau over the first lockdown there last year, but we've began growing again. But we're about a 50 person strong organization. We're based in, we've got an office in Hollywood, Northern Ireland. We've got an office in London, and we've got an office in Bonn, Germany, which is an interesting one. But essentially, that was one of our first clients. We're based in Bonn in Germany, so we decided to open up an office there. But yeah, over the last 2 3 years, we've grown very very rapidly. We had a bit of a panic probably last year when the pandemic struck, and for about 2 months, business was very slow for the first time in many years. But we've grown essentially in terms of revenue and in headcount, we've grown by about 100% every year, year on year, for the last 4 or 5 years, which has been incredible. And gladly we're starting to see that take off again over the last 6 months or so. But the last 12 months, what have we learned in business? I guess one of the best decisions we made during the first lockdown when everything was going crazy and we didn't know where the world was going, We made this, well, what I thought at the time, and our CEO thought this was a great idea, and I wasn't too sure about it, but he had this idea where many organizations were shutting down marketing, were deciding to furlough their marketing and sales people, and Dale, our CEO, made this decision to say, no, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to double our efforts in marketing and PR, and we're going to invest more and more and more. At the time, as chief revenue officer, I thought this is a bit crazy, but it has paid off hugely. So I guess one of the things I've learned, and one of the things 3N has learned, is just that resilience of keeping going. Business is not easy, even outside of a pandemic. Having a startup, we're now 10 years old, but having a startup and getting to the point that we're at now, it's not been easy. And if you expect business to be easy, you're probably lying to yourself. And I know that more than probably anyone, having to learn my way into where I'm being now. But what we've probably learned is just having that business resiliency, making decisions, sticking to those decisions, but also not being afraid to pivot fast. If you've made a decision or you've changed something, making a call to actually cut it there and then is super important as well. We've made lots of decisions in the last 12 months where we've had to go, actually, no, that was a bad one, and stop it as soon as you can. There's nothing worse than building bad habits or making decisions and sticking to them just because you thought they were a good idea or they should work if you keep going. We've kind of learned just to rapidly make decisions, be resilient in those decisions. If we believe they're right and they're working, then stick to them. But also don't be afraid to cut it. Don't be afraid to buy out of something. Don't be ashamed. Don't get your pride caught up in it either.
Yeah, really interesting insight, and of course, what you're describing there is very similar to the idea of when your competitors go to sleep, that's the time you can actually get some market share. You might not see it
100%.
there and then, but you certainly it will take competitors twice as long to get that back at
Yeah.
that point. So that's really interesting to hear that story. So what kind of problems do you help solve? I know you talked a lot about big data, and as we move into a
Yep.
more, I suppose, online focused world, and GDPR is very important to lots of businesses
hmm
now. Just give us a couple of examples of perhaps how you can make a difference on a practical level.
Yeah. So on a practical level, I guess one of the best examples of this is maybe a company we worked with a couple of years ago called Fitbit. Most people know them now. When we first started working with them, they were very well known in the States, not as well known in the UK and Ireland. But I guess an example of their problem that we solved was they just had many systems, and they had many probably world-class systems doing lots of good things. Now, one of their problems was is that this created a lot of disparity in managing data and reporting, and that's primarily one of the main things that we tend to fix. Is that the problem with software is that nobody really wants it. Which is an interesting thing to say as a software company, but nobody wants software, and in an ideal world, nobody would have business software. The problem is that the purpose of software is to take all this data and to give you useful information. So one of the key problems that we enjoy solving, and one of the things that excites me most about what we do, is really what we want to do is put the power back into the business's hands. So you're collecting all this data. You get data no matter how big or how small your business is, you're generating data. It's whether or not you capture that data, which is key. But the more important thing then is taking that data and turning it into information. And that generally looks like reporting. So one of the main problems we love to solve is taking all these systems, putting all that data, taking all the systems into one place. So where you manage your business is a single view of how your business is working and operating. Um, and then what we do is we drive efficiency through visibility of information and handing businesses back useful information to make business decisions and help grow their organization and move faster in what is a rapidly developing world.
Yeah, that's that really, I suppose, echoes to that classic phrase: if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And
Exactly.
I suppose there's a lot going on, and if you don't know what's important and you can't see what's important, then you're going to be in a bit of a muddle. So that's really
Exactly.
useful to find out. Um, Adam, look, we could carry on talking, but we're limited by
Good.
time, unfortunately. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, we've got your email up at the end of the
Perfect.
conversation. But look, it's a great success story coming straight out of our part of the world, and we're delighted to give you some airtime and support that story even further. So best of luck for the coming 12 months and beyond to you and the team.
Thank you, David. Same to you.